Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Trumpet Daily. 6 years ago this month, then presidential candidate Barack Obama gave a rousing speech in Berlin where 200,000 Germans turned out for the historic event. Time magazine hailed Mr. Obama's Berlin speech as a soaring address that invoked echoes of the famous speeches given in Berlin by U.S. presidents. John F. Kennedy, who talked about the common cause the United States had with Berliners against communist oppression, and of course Ronald Reagan and his call to tear down the Berlin Wall. Spiegel Online said candidate Obama's 2008 speech was a masterpiece in the art of political magic. Last week, after the latest revelation about America's spying activities in Germany, that same publication, Spiegel Online, called for Germany to break away from America's influence. Here's a quote from that particular article. It says, "This time there is more at play than the usual resentments, given all that has happened in recent years, the Iraq War, Guantanamo, the use of drones for targeted executions, the financial crisis, the NSA, and fears of Google." It says, "The Germans feel they have every reason to mistrust the United States, an erstwhile friend whom many now see as sinister." So what a difference these past 6 years have made.
This gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world.
And he said unto me, you must prophesy again.
Last week, there was another earth-shaking event in Europe that has many Germans calling for Germany to break free from American influence and to be more assertive on the world scene. This is something that we've been drawing attention to now for many years. Let me just read to you from the New York Times just to bring you up to speed. We did write a short piece on this development at thetrumpet.com over the weekend. But just to reiterate, the New York Times last week says the German government on Thursday demanded the removal of the top American spy in the country, the strongest evidence yet that mounting revelations about widespread American intelligence operations in Germany have gravely damaged relations between once close allies. And so here, since World War II, you've had the United States basically as the superpower that's been looking after Europe's security, that's been guiding really the entire world economy. And now you have many German commentators, politicians, leaders calling for Germany to separate itself because of this grave damage. I mean, this is the kind of thing you would expect from mortal enemies. But as I say, since World War II, I mean, we're supposedly these strong allies. Continuing from that New York Times piece, German officials have made it clear that their anger extends beyond the recent evidence of American spying. There's great frustration in Berlin that the Obama administration has not provided more information about a range of surveillance activities in Germany, including the tapping of Ms. Merkel's cell phone. It says German government spokesman Stephen Flurry said on Thursday that the decision to expel the CIA station chief was made against the backdrop of the ongoing investigations into American spying activities, as well as the questions pending for months about the activities of the U.S. intelligence services in Germany. So, I mean, there may be more to this story that we don't see right offhand. Particularly why these things keep leaking out since last summer. It seems like they're happening now every couple of months. Maybe there's a movement in Germany to try to discredit Merkel. Whatever it is, I mean, the outcome as far as the international scene is concerned is, here again, America on the decline and Germany in the heart of Europe becoming more assertive, more independent, more powerful. Just a few months ago, we were talking to you about Putin's aggressive push into Eastern Europe and what that was doing to Germany, the impact that that would have on Germany. Now you see what's happening west of Germany. All of these influences really pushing Germany in a direction that, if you know anything about history, is very dangerous. A newly dominant and assertive power right there in the heart of Europe. This is from Deutsche Welle, a German publication. It said the New York Times soberly noted that German-American relations have reached their low point with the expulsion of the CIA's representative from Berlin. It says experts on Germany and Washington view the events more dramatically. President Obama, they fear, is on the verge of losing Germany. Now, how is this going to impact world events or Bible prophecy? Now, we'll look a little bit later in the Bible and see how that right at the very end, God does prophesy for there to be at least what would appear to be a strong, close relationship on the surface, but it leads to a betrayal. So we know that ultimately these two are going to come together, and the United States and Judah and Ephraim, along with the United States, are going to look to Germany, but it's going to lead to a double cross. But as for what it's doing right now, what are these strained relations doing in Germany? Well, it's moving them forward at a faster pace. Let me just take you back. I mentioned that speech that Mr. Obama gave when he was a candidate for president, the speech that he gave in July of 2008. And again, you go back and look at that today, and it really does highlight just how fast things are changing and really how much he hasn't been able to live up to what he said as a candidate. This is from that speech in July of 2008.
True partnership and true progress requires constant work and sustained sacrifice. They require sharing the burdens of development and diplomacy, of peace and progress. They require allies who will listen to each other, learn from each other, and most of all, trust each other. That is why America cannot turn inward. That is why Europe cannot turn inward. America has no better partner than Europe. Now is the time to build new bridges across the globe as strong as the one that binds us across the Atlantic. Now is the time to join together through constant cooperation and strong institutions and shared sacrifice and a global commitment to progress to meet the challenges of the 21st century.
So, and then look at what Europe, Germany specifically, thinks about the United States today. So many of them don't trust the United States. It's just been 6 years. And of course, when he's talking there about listening and building a bridge and trusting one another, he's really taking a swipe at the previous administration, implying that he would come in and fix all of the damage that had been done. And now it's worse than ever. Now it's worse. That was the speech that, as I said at the top, all of these publications in the West were labeling as a masterpiece, magical. I mean, he had 200,000 people that turned out from Germany, the heart of Germany. What a different world we live in today. When you see that clip from 2008, it just makes me think about Joel Hilliker's article, I believe from November, right around the elections, shortly after Mr. Obama was elected as president. And he posted an article at thetrumpet.com titled, "Can He Deliver? Can He Deliver?" And it just went right through all of the promises. I mean, he was the most popular politician in the world at the time. Not just here in the United States, all around the world. But he didn't deliver, did he? It's not all his fault. I mean, this world, we know from Bible prophecy that the United States is in decline. because God has withdrawn the many blessings that we enjoyed for centuries, really. And now we see so many of them being taken away. To quote again from that article, Spiegel Online, it says, "At the moment, German sympathy for Putin is partly derived from the sense that the United States isn't much better and that it is prepared to violate international law if it happens to further its political ends." Can you believe that? I mean, here is Germany thinking you have Putin's Russia on the one hand and President Obama's United States on the other, and really the two are no different. The two will violate international law if it suits them, if it benefits them. There was a poll recently that found that only 27% of Germans regard the United States as trustworthy. Only 27% see the United States as trustworthy, a trustworthy ally. So many of them don't trust the U.S. That's where we are today in 2014. You saw how hopeful, how excited people were back in 2008. But look at the facts now on the ground. Pretty remarkable when you think of it. Continuing from Spiegel, it says, Germany has spread its wings in the last 20 years. It can no longer hide behind others. Instead, Germany can lead Europe to an independent political role. I mean, that's the significance, really, of what's happening this past week. A newly independent, stronger Germany. Why is it all the events happening in and around Europe have been really pushing Germany in this direction? What is behind this? Well, God is. There's many prophecies that talk about God using Germany, the Assyrian people, as his instrument to correct his wayward people. As I said, you just go right down the line. There's the financial crisis. Who does the world need? Who does Europe need to come in and rescue those nations that struggle? Well, Germany, of course. Putin pushes into Ukraine. Who needs to stand firm against him in Europe? Well, it's Germany. And now you have all of these spying scandals in Germany that are being revealed, it seems, every couple of months. And what does Germany need to do? They need to pull away from U.S. influence and get stronger and more independent, take matters into their own hands. This is from the Los Angeles Times, an incredible piece from this past week. The German-American breakup, this is July 10th. It harkens back to that same speech I mentioned and showed you a clip of just a moment ago. When candidate Barack Obama spoke in July 2008 in Berlin, near the Brandenburg Gate, he told a rapturous German audience that peace and progress, quote, require allies who will listen to each other, learn from each other, and most of all, trust each other. It was supposed to be the opposite of George W. Bush's cowboy diplomacy, which alienated the Federal Republic of Germany and much of Europe. Yet 6 years later, relations between Washington and Berlin are more mistrustful than ever. I mean, that's the Los Angeles Times. That's not the National Review or a conservative publication. That's the LA Times. Talking about relations more mistrustful than ever. Talking about all of those assurances given back in 2008. This article goes on and talks about how that we've reached a tipping point as far as these relations between the United States and Germany. It points out how the German politicians are now even calling for Germany and Europe to reassess the negotiations over the transatlantic free trade agreement, to readjust things so that Germany has more economic independence. As I said, all of these influences, all of these prods are pushing Germany in a definite direction to be more assertive, more dominant, stronger, more independent. Notice this from the LA Times. It says the result is that Germany is undergoing a fundamental transformation. Now notice the history it brings out here. After the Nazi defeat in 1945, the Republic's first chancellor, Konrad Adenauer, emphasized that Germany had to end its tradition of trying to maneuver between East and West as an independent power. Instead, it had to bind itself to the West, economically and militarily. Only Washington could guarantee a free and democratic West Germany. But it is precisely this tradition that is coming to an end as Germany begins to act on what it perceives as its new national interests. Before, it was sort of trying to find that middle ground between the influences and the powers out west and in the east. But then after World War II, Churchill, Adenauer, Western leaders, they knew that Germany needed to be tied to the United States to keep it under control, to keep it from emerging again as a world power, to keep it from pursuing what it had traditionally pursued, to dominate other nations in Europe. That really is the significance of this past week, really of these past several months, as you see America's power on the wane. You see that Germany is emerging out from underneath the shadow of the United States. Now we'll look at a prophecy, as I said, that shows there's still going to be an alliance there right up until the very end. But as far as the significance right now, when you've got Russia on the march in the east, and you've got the United States seen as a once powerful ally that Germany can no longer trust, well, you can begin to put two and two together and figure out where this is headed. Continuing from the Times, it says, it shouldn't be entirely surprising that decades after the fall of the Berlin Wall, a reunified Germany is moving from docile Cold War ally to a sovereign power that feels less inhibited by its Nazi past and less indebted to the United States. Now think about what that's saying there. It's moving on. It's leaving behind that docile past, feeling less inhibited, less guilty about its past, less constricted by the power of the United States. It's quite a statement in the Los Angeles Times. And as I said, we posted an article just this past weekend about how this spying scandal is going to shake the world. And really, even though people don't like to talk about God's hand in these events, He is behind it. Herbert Armstrong, this is from way back in 1954 in The Plain Truth. He wrote, Germany inevitably will emerge as the leader of a united Europe. It will require some spiritual binding force to inspire this confidence, to remove these fears, and that spiritual binding force must arise from inside Europe. So what he explains there and elsewhere is that what needed to happen in this prophesied united Europe is that first it had to emerge out from the shadows of the U.S. dominant influence, and then also it needed this spiritual binding force from a great universal church there within Europe, as he explains there. And so what we're seeing happen is the first of those two steps. That binding force spiritually, that's coming soon. But what we see now is Germany emerging as that newly assertive, powerful, independent, economic powerhouse. And soon it's going to be a force militarily as well. It's already making rapid gains in that direction. Let's look at those few prophecies I mentioned. This is Ezekiel chapter 23. Once Germany is fully unhinged from America, once the European Union is downsized to that more powerful, more efficient, smaller group of 10 kings or 10 nations, the Bible says, once it has that spiritual binding force, then you can look for prophecies to accelerate as never before. They're already moving faster than ever. Look at Ezekiel 23 and verse 9. It says, "Wherefore I have delivered her into the hand of her lovers, into the hand of the Assyrians, upon whom she doted." So this is talking about that end-time flowering of relations, you could say, between Germany and the United States. Right now, I mean, you see it's at a real low point. But what will be obvious once the dust settles, and projecting ahead just a little ways down the road, is you're going to see Germany take on a more powerful position in the world, even as the United States weakens. And soon, I mean, you put this prophecy together with others, and you see it's the end-time Israelite nations, Judah, little Judah in the Middle East that's called Israel, Ephraim, or the United Kingdom, Britain, and then, of course, Manasseh here in the United States. And rather than look to those nations for security, for economic power, it's going to be those nations looking to Germany for help, for security, because of other prophecies that have to do with our downfall. Down in verse 22, staying here in Ezekiel 23, it says, "Therefore, O Aholibah, thus says the Lord God, behold, I will raise up your lovers against you, from whom your mind is alienated, and I will bring them against you on every side." See, they're different. They're not the same people. They think differently, and you just have to look at history and see the stark differences. And to see, as Margaret Thatcher once said about Germany's national character, to dominate. That's about to return. And then when we're on the down and out and really reaching out to Germany for help and assistance, there may be some help and assistance provided initially, but it's going to lead to this double cross. Verse 22 talks about them coming against us on every side. Hosea, I'll just read it quickly from the screen. Chapter 5, verse 12, "Therefore will I be unto Ephraim as a moth, and unto the house of Judah as rottenness." I mean, these are the curses that set in. And then verse 13, we've read this to you so many times before. "When Ephraim saw his sickness and Judah saw his wound, then went Ephraim to the Assyrian and sent to King Jareb, yet could he not heal you, nor cure you of your wound." There's other prophecies like Daniel 11 that talk about this clash between the king of the north and the king of the south. And as my father has mentioned before, the United States isn't even mentioned in it. I mean, we're weakening, and it's prophesied. We're losing our power, our strength, and it's prophesied. And there's prophecies like this that talk about the peoples of Israel and Judah turning to Germany for help and assistance. As you see this change, as you see this flip-flop, all of them looking to the United States of Europe for help and for support. Pretty amazing how fast things are unfolding. This is an awesome little ebook that we have available to you at thetrumpet.com. You can actually click on it within this video. It's titled "The Remarkable Identity of the German People." If you have any question about where the Assyrian people are today, of course, I can tell you right here and now, they're in the heart of Europe, in what today constitutes Germany. But if you've not heard that before, I mean, you need to go and prove this for yourself and dig into God's Word and the prophecies of God and look into history. We're mentioned in prophecy here in the United States. I mean, how could the greatest single superpower in Earth's history be ignored in Bible prophecy? A lot of religious people believe that. We're talked about in prophecy, and so are the Assyrian people, the modern-day Germans. And you can go and look at this booklet, and as I say, prove it for yourself. So make sure that you either click on the link within this video or go to thetrumpet.com so that you can get your free copy, your free downloaded copy of this ebook, The Remarkable Identity of the German people. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time on the Trumpet Daily.